check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, hey! Hey, Lucius! Okay, gonna get started. Oh, nope, wrong. Hi, friends. I already have an egg on me. Let's take the egg off. How are we doing? Hello, Lucius. Thanks for subscribing. And look, because you subscribed 6 months in a row, we got a new emote in the chat that you can use. I don't know what that is. Is that toilet paper? What? Ooh, what are you cooking for dinner? Relevant conversation for right now. So Lucius is cooking dinner. How about we do a snack check, snack check. Snack check in the chat. Cod and scallops in the oven. Very nice. What is everyone else snacking on right now? I just have a pamplemousse LaCroix. So welcome back to Attack the Pantry. I'm Jenn de Vega. This is a stream, a deep dive into ingredients, cooking techniques, and recipes to help you cook for yourself during the quarantine and the rest of your adult life. How are we doing? Did we have a good holiday? Lucius, did you end up ordering for Thanksgiving? Let me know in the chat what you're snacking on and how your Thanksgiving went. I went upstate with a couple of friends and we made a beef roast instead of a turkey, which I will show you in a bit. But let's get through the business while people are still coming into the chat. So last time on the stream, we went really ham on Thanksgiving and leftover ideas. If you haven't frozen the rest of your leftovers by now, you should probably smell them and get rid of them if they don't smell that great. You can watch all the past clips here on my channel if you click on videos, and the entire archive is located at youtube.com/JENNDLV, and I will put the link in the chat for you, so you have it. Lucius cooked a bunch of side dishes for Thanksgiving. You bought a whole smoked chicken for the main. Very nice idea. Yeah, reduce stress. You know, buy the most labor-intensive dish for the meal. Plus, that seems like a lot of food, right? That every Thanksgiving we make too much food. I'm putting the last of a beef roast into a beef stew for tonight, using Thanksgiving gravy as the base for the soup. Just diluting it a little bit more because it's fatty and salty. But let's get down to the business here. So I'm a Twitch affiliate now. If you have Amazon Prime, you can gift a subscription to your favorite creators every month. So if you have one, click the purple button above the top right of this video that says gift a sub, and you'll get a little crown next to your name in the chat. Lots of really good links below to support the channel. One way to help me out is to share some of the links so other folks can join in the fun with us here. Yeah, and one of those links is to Patreon. I make a lot of stuff that goes there on Mondays. I make skate videos, and skate video 38 is about the parts of a skateboard and learning how to loosen my trucks so I can cruise down the street. Yes. A new Float City episode went up on Monday where someone tries to sell us a condo and someone gets kissed. It was very exciting. So if you don't know about my podcast, funcity.ventures, here, you can listen to it and catch up on Float City, which is our mini-series where we play the game Stillfleet. Awesome. Hello to the chat. If you're just joining us, please tell me, A, if you're snacking on something right now, or B, what you did for Thanksgiving last week. And if you didn't celebrate Thanksgiving, what's something nice that you cooked for yourself? I like to hear these things. Okay. This week on Patreon, I've caught up finally on the weekly schedule. New recipe today for sausage Yorkshire puddings, which I saw on Instagram and decided to recreate in my home kitchen. So now I've written the instructions out for you so you can try it in your home kitchen. Sweet potato pasta with sage, which was a leftover dish from Thanksgiving because we made too many sweet potatoes and used them in a pasta. And then the dish that's actually inspired the chat for later, blanched asparagus. So later I'm going to be talking about the difference between parboiling and blanching and why you should add these to your cooking skill set. Our next Netflix party is going to be December 10th at 8 p.m. and we're going to resume watching my favorite episodes of Samurai Gourmet starting at number 7. So catch up if you haven't seen up to there. I'm going to skip around, but we'll probably watch 2 or 3 episodes. I think, maybe. We'll see how we're feeling that night. Peter! Hi, Peter! Peter's making brunch. Mushroom scramble. What time is it where you are? Peter! I'm glad you can make it, Peter. So if Patreon, Twitch sub, or Etsy isn't possible for you and you want to tip me for good cooking advice, my Venmo and PayPal is below. It's Randwiches. Or just tell a friend to subscribe here or on Instagram. That's a free and nice thing you can do to help out. It was Giving Tuesday yesterday, and somebody made a joke online that it's also now Taking Wednesday. It's Giving Tuesday, Taking Wednesday. Oh my god, it's 7 a.m.? Well, thank you for waking up at 7 a.m., Peter. I admire your commitment. Let's see what everybody cooked this week. So every week you can tag me on Instagram or Twitter or text me photos of food that you have cooked and I will happily feature it here. Here are a few things that people have sent to me. This is turkey stock that Vance made from the Thanksgiving turkey carcass. So he just boiled it down and with a lot of water and herbs, and now he has like turkey stock to use however way he wishes. My friend Jeff commented on this photo and was like, "Why so cloudy?" And he hadn't yet skimmed the top of the fat, so... I mean, I don't really need to clarify my broths, because I kind of do love that fat layer, but, you know, I guess it's like classic French cooking to clear the fat from the top. Let's see, what else here? Dylan is trying to perfect cubed ice in his freezer. Like, it's really tough to get perfectly solid ice cubes. You can see there's some bubbles here on the left. But it's a mission that he has for his cocktail making at home. So that's very exciting. There's an episode of this show called Going Deep with David Reese, and he has a 30-minute, like, episode on how to make clear ice. It's pretty great. Let's see. This is Jeff's Thanksgiving appetizer table. So it's only 2 of them, but they have all this shrimp. And crudite, and it looks like green goddess dressing and some cocktail sauce. Looks like a lovely setup to me. This is Dylan. He brought his turkey to a bar called The Holler in Bed-Stuy. Look at that lovely thing. It's very, it's got rosemary crusted on the outside. Very nice. This is Vance's turkey. Looks like it's got a lot of paprika on the outside of it, so it looks like it got really smoky. Even if it's not Thanksgiving anymore, I would love to see your turkeys, so feel free to tag me or send them to me still. I really want to see them. This is my family's prime rib. I guess that's kind of where I got the idea that I wanted to do prime rib for Thanksgiving, but I couldn't source one in time. The Meat Hook in Brooklyn had some prime rib, but they were sold out by the time I got to it. Well, oh well. But this looks great. I think my brother made this. Tris sent me this photo, and he was like, "Have you tried this?" And I had the most visceral and negative reaction to this text message. I was like, "I hate this ramen." So this is a hot sauce by this brand Samyang, and they have a instant noodle package that has this chicken on it that's breathing fire. And so I got a cheesy ramen pack from this brand, and it was so not enjoyably spicy that I hated the experience. Like, the noodle texture was really good. It's better than the typical Maruchan, like, instant ramen packs, but this one was like this kind of spice that you just try for hurting yourself. It's like, it wasn't flavorful at all. I'm sorry to hate on this hot sauce, but I would rather have more flavor than spice. But if you've had this and you had a good experience, let me know. I've just had a bad experience with this brand. Yeah, it was so hot that, like, my lips were burning. I mean, I can handle spice. It's just, like, not a whole dish worth. These are sausage and squash ravioli from Robin. Robin's been making a lot of stuff. You might remember her duck pate from last week. This is great. Lovely, lovely hands-on projects for Thanksgiving week. And this is Sean's layout from Thanksgiving. He made all the sides. So it looks like some roasted squash, Brussels sprouts, green bean, potato, some turkey with gravy, and some cranberry sauce. Lovely scaled down Thanksgiving. But that does look like a lot of potato for 2 people. That's funny. Well, that's all the photos that I have from other people. So if you'd like to be featured on the stream next week, please send me your photos via Instagram, Twitter, or text, or email, or whatever suits you best. Oh, cool. Lucius. Yeah, I'll put it in for next week. Because working with OBS while the stream is going is a little ridiculous. But cool. I will happily keep featuring turkey next week if anybody has other turkey photos. Cool. Okay, so yeah, don't forget to send me photos. Let's look at what I did this week. Oops, that is not for now. Let's see. My aunt sent me a bunch of calamansi fruit in the mail again. This is the last harvest from her tree in Southern California. It's very exciting. I really like calamansi. It is a Filipino citrus that tastes like a mix between tangerines and limes. And they look like kumquats, but they're not soft enough to eat the skin. So I've been trying to figure out ways to pickle the whole thing. We'll see. This is one of the leftover hacks that I did this week, which was taking leftover sweet potatoes from Thanksgiving and turning them into gnocchi with a Mornay sauce. Mornay is a step beyond bechamel sauces. So if you know the French mother sauces, bechamel is a roux plus milk. And then Mornay sauce is a little bit more spices and cheese. So basically like a French Alfredo, but not so much garlic. And parm. There's no parm. But yeah, you can turn leftover mashed potatoes into gnocchi. Because you just need to add an egg yolk and enough flour that it becomes a soft dough. And you can roll them up and boil them. Isn't that fun? It's fun. I saw this on Instagram. Well, not this photo because this is my photo. But my friend Christine Flynn is a chef in Canada, and she made this Yorkshire pudding with sausages in it, and I was like, I can do that, and so I tried it, and now the recipe is up on my Patreon. You can see that a Yorkshire pudding is typically a side of bread that is served with beef roasts. So you take some of the drippings from the beef roast and put it in the cast iron pan and pour this pancake-like batter into it. But you know what? You don't need a beef roast to have Yorkshire pudding. You could use butter or oil or fat from bacon and throw things into the middle of it while it bakes. So I threw sausage in there, and it's delicious. So this can skew savory with either serving it with gravy, or it can skew sweet or with serving it with maple syrup. So it works either way. Great. This is my ham sandwich from today. It's just some rye bread from ore washers, cheddar cheese, mustard, some of the jamon serrano that my mom sent through the mail, kale, mayo, and another piece of bread. Really simple sandwich. I find myself sort of regressing back to the simple things that I enjoy instead of getting tired of cooking. So this is ham sandwich. Ham sandwich. Why not? This is another leftover dish. This is mushroom barley soup, but the soup part is my Thanksgiving gravy thinned out again. So you can use your leftover gravy as a soup base. Just remember that it has lots of fat and thickener in it and salt. So you really don't need a lot of it. So a couple tablespoons of your gravy plus water becomes a nice broth to start with. But this has shiitake mushrooms, barley, onion, kale, carrot, and some toast. You can see that I was dipping into it. Yum, yum, and yum. I've been slicing into this jamon serrano that my mom bought. I have shouldn't be a surprise to you, but I have a meat slicer in my home. And I was able to just quickly slice a quarter pound of it for a trip that I was going on. I went away for Thanksgiving. Upstate, about 3 hours, but yeah, really good feeling to use a meat slicer. If you know Emily, who has been in the chat before, it was her birthday last week, and I went over to our friend Sarah's house to have like a little socially distant dinner, and Sarah did this amazing thing that I had never seen before. She said she saw it on TikTok, where you take an onion, you cut the top off, you stick 3 skewers down into the onion, and then you layer marinated chicken meat over it like it's a giant shawarma. And then you put another onion on top and then bake it in the oven like this. And it was awesome. It was really juicy and delicious. So you could do chicken shawarma at home. How cool is that? Alright. This is a cheese plate from Thanksgiving. Excuse me. Ah. This is all from Monger's Palette in Greenpoint. So we have a cheese called La Tour. It's called La Tour because it has 3 milks in it. Sheep, goat, and cow milk in it. Sota Canara, which is a truffle cheese. And then Schallerhocker, which is an Alpine style cheese that it's a little bit more intense style of Gruyere. It's very good. One of my faves. On the plate, we also have apples and some roasted persimmons and some pecans and some apple butter that Robin mailed me. Love receiving foods in the mail. Don't you? This is the roasted persimmon that I was mentioning. I made a salad one day. I dressed it with calamansi juice, a scoop of mascarpone cheese, some duca, which is a sesame seed and pistachio sprinkle, and then some butter lettuce. It did need a little bit of dressing, so I added some balsamic after I started eating it. You know, sometimes you forget to add things. This is from a hike upstate. We were hiking in Prattsville, which was named after Zadok Pratt, a man who opened a tannery in that area. This was really fun, and I got to wear my entire pumpkin pie outfit. Don't I look like a pumpkin pie? Hey, Drip! Yeah, you've had Latour, you know. You know. I also miss working at the cheese shop, and I also ate cheese all day. Yeah, sending food through the mail is really fun, and the New York Times just actually had a post about it. Like how to safely transport things when you know that the shipping might be a little delayed or unpredictable. So you could do non-perishable things or things that can stand to sit in a box for an inordinate amount of time. Some people have told me this has like really big Endor vibes. I agree. I am an Ewok. This made a lot of people mad on Twitter. So my friend Kate made kabocha pie for Thanksgiving, and I'm allergic to the crust, so she made me my own little one without a crust. And so I have this like perfectly, sliceable for like crustless pie. So it's like a squash quiche, but no egg really. And so I've been trying to eat it, but I get really sick of sweet things all the time. And so I thought, why don't I try to make it into a salad? Because it tastes a lot like roasted butternut squash if you had, added a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg. So that felt like a valid thought in my mind. And then I had lettuce and some blue cheese, and then later I added some balsamic vinegar, and this was freaking good. Just the phrase pie salad short-circuited so many people that they hated on this photo, but it was really good. I implore you to try it. I mean, it won't work with any pie, just any pie. Like, the flavor profile of kabocha pie squash, or kabocha squash pie, or pumpkin pie is the same flavor profile that matches things that pair with blue cheese. So, like, I got this thought from an event I went to last year where they served gingerbread with huge slabs of blue cheese on top. And I was like, no way. I was like, that sounds gross. But then I ate it, and it was freaking delicious. So, anything in that flavor profile of gingerbready, roasted pumpkin, butternut squashy stuff will go really well in salad. I don't know. Don't knock it till you try it. This is my Thanksgiving beef roast. I worked all day on it. It was slathered in garlic butter, And you can see that I have some roasted garlic heads in there. It's topped with Maldon salt. I also injected or larded the roast with batons or strips of jamon serrano. So when you slice into it, it had like these nice salty hammy bits in some of the slices. And it helped like moisturize the whole thing as it was slow cooking. But this was really fun and a great idea. Less stressful than turkey and no bones. What else happened? This was Thanksgiving morning, which was le primary French toast with mascarpone and cooked apples with cinnamon. You can see the apples there. Lovely, lovely, lovely. My friend Thor made these. So another leftover idea. We had sweet potatoes, too many sweet potatoes, so we did a pasta with sweet potatoes and butter tossed together, and then sage that was fried until it was crispy. And this is on my Patreon, if you would like the recipe. Yeah. Here I am again in my pumpkin pie outfit with my friend Cordelia the Sasquatch. I don't know why, this Airbnb we were at had cutouts of a Sasquatch, a bear, and a deer, and every now and then different people, as they were washing the dishes, would look out the window and be like, "Gah, there's a bear." I'm like, oh, it's that sign again. It just got me. I know, it's so silly. It's so silly. Yeah, I guess they have a sense of humor. It works. Oh, this is related to the last, hold on, I'll just talk about this first. So this is another leftover thing that we did for breakfast after Thanksgiving. So we know we had all this beef roast. The next day we did flautas for breakfast, which was rolling up sliced beef into flour tortillas, frying them, and then topping them with some creme fraiche and Gion Famous Foods chili oil. This was so good and satisfying and not very heavy the day after Thanksgiving. Yes. Okay, so finally, I am co-hosting an event with the Museum of Food and Drink on December... Oh, I want to double check. Sorry. I don't remember. Is it December 16th? Yeah, okay, December 16th. We are hosting with the Green Space Museum of Food and Drink Food for Thought, which is a series about how different cultures kind of celebrate the holidays, and I'm working with a lot of really, really cool people like Woldy Reyes, who is a caterer upstate, Bettina, who is a writer from Vice Munchies, and Ria, who opened a Filipino restaurant in LA called Petit Peso. And Woldy and I are going to be teaching everybody 2 different versions of pancit, which is this dish that I was showing you. It's this noodle dish that we make for the holidays. And so the holiday that we're going to be discussing is called Noche Buena, or the Good Night. I don't know if you know this, but Filipinos celebrate Christmas season from mid-September to about mid-January. And Noche Buena is usually Christmas Eve for us, and it's an all-day eating affair. And typically we serve pancit, at least in my family, we serve pancit because it's a noodle dish, and we believe you should eat noodles for a long life on big holidays, your birthday, anniversaries, anytime you want to sprinkle a little bit of longevity onto your life. We eat pancit. And so I will be teaching my mom's version, which has 3 kinds of protein, which is very meat-packed. And then Woldy will be teaching a vegan version, which is a little bit more modernized and less moving parts, but still a valid version of pancit. So I look forward to it. Let me see if I can get Museum of Food and Drink. I'm gonna get you a link to it so you can see if you can get tickets. We are also partnering with a company called Tindahan ni Luz, and they are a mail order Filipino food store. And if you order a ticket before December 9th, they will send you a box, or you can just buy a ticket to the event if you want to shop for all the stuff yourself. But I just put a link to the event in the chat if you want to check it out. I'm sure we're going to have a VOD for it. But I'm really excited. We're going to pre-record the cooking segment on Monday next week. So I got to get all, camera ready. And then we will be joining for the live portion of the event on December 16th. So I hope you'll come and learn about kind of the different Philippines like traditions across the entire diaspora, not just Filipino American, but in the islands. I have a few stories about that because I spent the holidays in Quezon City one year, and it was incredible. All right, so that is what I'm up to. Let's get to how are we doing? How is everybody doing? How are we doing? Yes, you're right. It is so much Christmas. It is so much Christmas. I get Christmased out myself. I don't celebrate all of it. Because there's a lot of church involved. Like a lot of rosary, a lot of prayer. Like a lot of the older relatives in my family like to pray a lot. Yes! You remembered all the traffic in Quezon City. That is literally the only thing I remember from Quezon City. Smog and traffic. And just poverty. It just really bothered me, like, yeah, how bad it is for some people while others are just like heading straight to the mall. Like, they're such consumers. Like, I had a hard time with it. I was like, do we have to go to the mall again? Why are we going to the mall? I don't even like spending money. Anyway, I don't mean to complain. The rest of the trip was great. Lots of eating. Lots and lots of eating. Okay, let's talk about the big tasks at hand. Peter, who is in the chat, asked about parboiling and blanching. I will explain the differences between the two techniques and why you should introduce it into your cooking repertoire. And once I explain it to you, you probably have done it before. You just didn't know the name of it, right? Yeah. How many of you in the chat have already parboiled or blanched something in your life? I'm sure you have. For instance, potatoes. See? Yeah, exactly, Drip. Yeah, you knew exactly what I was talking about. Potatoes. Yeah, Lucius, I feel like you cook enough at home that you probably have parboiled something in your life. So parboiling is the partial or semi-boiling of food as like a preliminary first step. Like you intend to do something else to it. The key here is to remove them before they are fully cooked. This mostly applies to prepping lots of food for another time. So, for example, the big one is potatoes for prep before roasting, frying, or scalloping. The reason for this is potatoes take a hell of a long time to cook. So if I were to just chop these fresh and, scallop them, put a cream sauce in a casserole and put it in the oven, that's gonna take for freaking ever. So if the night before I had the forethought to parboil these for about 10 to 15 minutes until they were fork tender, let them cool in the fridge overnight, they are ready to go the next day, and my scalloping casserole will only take about 15 minutes. So it's about you're still doing some prep, like parboiling is a prep step, but you can divide the process in 2 separate days. So if you were planning for Thanksgiving to roast a bunch of potatoes, you would parboil them the night before so you wouldn't have to deal with chopping and boiling them the next day. Get what I mean? Like for mashed potatoes, the way that I would prep them for Thanksgiving is I would chop them up, store them in cold water in the fridge for like 2 days. Day before Thanksgiving, parboil them, and then do the mashed potatoes whenever I had time next. So that's a big example of parboiling. Another example is pasta at restaurants. So if a restaurant is using dry store-bought pasta and they're not making it by hand, they will parboil it right before it's done. Right before it's al dente, they'll pull it, toss it with olive oil, and then when an order comes in, they will finish the boiling, toss it in the sauce, and be done within 5 to 10 minutes. And that's if you're dealing with dry pasta. If you're dealing with fresh pasta, it should be able to be cooked in about, 3 to 5 minutes, like completely done. But that's a trick from large-scale cooking, that dry pasta, you can parboil it, toss it in some olive oil so it doesn't stick to each other, and then have it ready to go. For Asian noodles, for rice noodles, bean thread, you would toss sesame oil instead of olive oil so that they didn't stick to each other. So the point is, parboiling is just, getting the food soft enough so that braising, stir-frying, grilling, roasting, frying, or casserole making doesn't take as long. Another big industrial example of parboiling is prepackaged rice. So if you've seen anything that says 5-minute rice on it, that means it's probably been parboiled. And because it's been parboiled, it's lost a lot of the nutrients. So if you had a choice between 5-minute rice and rice that had to cook longer, the rice that has to cook longer is going to retain a lot more of the nutrients than the 5-minute rice. Because in an industrial facility, they'd have rinsed it and gotten rid of all that water, and it doesn't get steamed into the rice in the end. In general, parboiling can be used for removing poisonous or foul-tasting substances from foods, and I don't really have any good examples of that. I think that's more of a survival skill. Or like removing pesticides from things. Like if you weren't sure about like where you got your apples or something and you thought they had stuff on the outside, you'd probably parboil them for a minute. But essentially the purpose is to soften vegetables or pasta or other foods before cooking them at a higher heat somewhere else. So that's parboiling. Beans, yes, beans you can parboil as well. Though, I would say, I generally have never separated the cooking of beans into different steps. I've always just, soaked them overnight instead of parboiling them. But yes, you're right. Soaking them overnight is about the same action as parboiling. It's just faster, I guess. Yeah, 5-minute rice is blasphemy. I agree. But for the working person on the go, I think what I'm excited about, I don't know, not excited, I would say a positive that is coming out of the people staying at home is people are paying attention to where their food is coming from and how it's made. And I hope that, it is birthing a lot of new home cooks who enjoy it. Yes, Peter, you are right. You can quickly remove the stuff that gives you a stomachache or makes you flatulent. But I've seen a few studies about soaking and parboiling that may not necessarily have an effect on your stomach. It's just sort of being used to eating I guess I haven't been eating beans a lot this season, but I tend to eat a lot of beans in the summer and fall. It's chili season. I should make some chili. Dang. Well, okay, so that is parboiling in a nutshell. Excuse me. I have really bad asthma. I'm very sorry. Very sorry. Similarly, because it involves a pot of boiling water, blanching, on the other hand, is dunking foods in boiling salted water for a short amount of time and shocking it in ice water. Blanching is also meant for prepping a lot of food for another time, but it's specifically for use within the day or frozen for long-term storage. So most frozen vegetables like green beans, corn, carrots are blanched, flash frozen, and then packaged for freezing. So basically the purpose is reducing quality loss over time because living vegetables spoil pretty quickly if you don't intervene. And I happened to have written something about this. I'm going to put this in the chat so that you can read it later. Blanching is like a restaurant and manufacturing secret to faster prep, safer preservation, and snappy texture, and if you care about it, brighter green vegetables. At home, you can take a few minutes to blanch and shock a batch of vegetables if you need to tame an overwhelming CSA farm share, or if you want to get a jump start on weeknight cooking. So this way, you'll have dishes that are ready to add to salads, to grill, or simply just microwave, so you don't have to think about it anymore. So let me get you this. So this is the article I shared in the chat. It's on Yumly, absolutely shocking, how to blanch and shock your way to faster meals. Hooray. So the science behind this, very quickly, is plants have gas trapped within their cell walls. And when exposed for a short amount of time to boiling water, or sometimes to steam or oil, some, not all, of the cell walls break down to release the gas and some chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is that pigment that makes vegetables green. And so, when you blanch things, the results are much brighter in color. So when it comes to shocking, that's the part where you throw your hot vegetables into an ice bath. The ice stops the food from cooking. It's like halting the aging process. You're like stopping time. And if you don't have an ice maker, like I don't have an ice maker, cold running water also works just as well. Just be careful not to over soak your vegetables, or they can get soggy and lose flavor as they take on water. Right? You hear me? Right? Okay, so here is the step-by-step for blanching. There are a few things you do need to know. It's possible to blanch other things like meats, herbs, and nuts, but this is just the step-by-step for vegetables specifically. So prep your produce, wash, trim, and cut vegetables into uniform shapes. Uniformity in cooking just guarantees that everything will cook evenly and have the same cook time. Plan to cook in batches, starting with lighter vegetables first and ending with any colorful bits, like if you got some purple carrots from the farmer's market. Purple potatoes, also, for example, will tinge the water and anything else you put in afterward. So, you heat a big pot of salted water. For each pound of produce in a large pot with a lid, bring 1 gallon of water and 1 cup of kosher salt, or 3/4 cup table salt, to a boil. So this large amount of water ensures that it retains its heat when you add the vegetables. If you are going to be blanching fruit, omit the salt. I mean, unless you like some salty fruit. I do like salt on my green apples, so depends on what you're using it for here. So the equipment that you need for blanching: a slotted spoon, or a colander, or a frying spider, or tongs, so you can move the stuff in and out of the pot. Create an ice bath. So in the sink or on a countertop, fill a large mixing bowl 3/4 of the way with ice and top off with cold water. So you're gonna blanch your food. We'll get to the timing of how long to blanch food. So you add the food to the boiling water, make sure it comes back up to a boil, and that's when you start your timer. And if you live in a place of high altitude, just know that your cooking process will probably take up to a minute longer, because cook times vary in high altitude places. And then finally, you shock the vegetables in the cold water bath. And then the last step that I accidentally cut off here is drain, because you don't want to leave the vegetables in the ice bath for too long. You just want to leave it in there to cool off, and then you drain it on a paper towel lined plate. And that is done. Seems like, you know, a assembly line sort of thing, but if you're prepping a lot of stuff, you're gonna have vegetables ready for salads and for whatever else you need through the week. So it's a good Sunday habit to take on if you want to you know, make sure everything is prepped beforehand. This is sort of the cook times grouped by hardiness of the vegetables. So broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and winter squash are in the hot water bath for about 3 minutes. You can see. And then the doneness is a paring knife inserted into a piece barely no longer meets resistance. Potatoes, other vegetables for grilling. Quick blanch and shock before grilling. 2 to 3 minutes until the colors are bright. Zucchini, carrots, cabbage, shelled peas, and kale, only 1 to 2 minutes. Almonds and other nuts. This is for a lot of people who bake and make their own marzipan from scratch. You want to get those seed coats off of the nuts. Blanching is a great way to peel those off. So 1 minute in the blanching pot. Before you do any tomatoes or peaches, cut an X mark on the bottom of the fruit. You blanch for 10 to 30 seconds, and then the skins will peel back on their own. So once they're cool, you can slip the skins right off. So other fruits, generally like apples and pears, only 10 to 30 seconds. I'll show you an example of a recipe, I think. Oh, no, I won't. I didn't save it. Anyway, apples and pears. So sliced apples and pears to make them more pliable for bending or rolling up in croissants or apple roses. You would want to blanch those pieces in salted water. And then, yeah, cook as normal. You can also blanch herbs like basil for some types of like pesto, like pesto genovese specifically blanches their basil instead of using fresh. And it turns out a little bit darker when you make the pesto, but I don't know. It's like a tradition in some parts of the world. So that is blanching in a nutshell. Here's the article again. Let me tell you some examples here. Some examples that you can use blanching is blanching vegetables for a crudite. Like if you ever had like a crudite plate that was like way too crunchy, like it hurt your teeth a little bit, you can blanch the carrots so they're not aggressively crunchy. You can blanch green beans for a niçoise salad. You can blanch all your vegetables for a beef stir fry ahead of time so that all you have to do when you're done with work is just stir fry. It's really nice to blanch asparagus before you grill it. That way they don't flare up and burn because they're a little wet on the outside, but you know they don't overcook. So that's a good way to balance the cooking on asparagus. Some pickling recipes will require you to blanch hearty things like carrots or pickled potatoes, if you've ever heard of that. Eggs kind of demonstrate this whole shocking technique. So boiling and soft boiling eggs is not necessarily blanching, but they do need to be shocked so that they stop the cooking process and you avoid that silver ring around the yolk. Yes. You can blanch fava beans for risotto verde. That sounds really good. I mentioned it earlier, but blanching almonds is great for making your own marzipan or frangipan at home. And then blanching apple slices are great for apple rose pastries. Let me see if I can link this. Yeah, here we go. You'll see what I mean. I've made these before for a catering client. Those are the apple roses. But yeah, now that I've explained it, how many of you have actually realized now, like, wait a minute, I have done this before? Oh, thank you, Lucius, for buying a ticket to the event. Awesome. It'll be great to see you then. See, yeah, you've blanched veggies before, you know. It's all good. It's all good. So. Does anyone else have any questions about parboiling or blanching? Yeah, you usually still eat them a bit crunchy and a bit softened. Yeah, I tend to like them still pretty crunchy. Oh yeah, the pies you get at the farmer's market taste better when you pop them in the oven for a bit. Hell yeah. Totally. Does anyone else have any quick cooking questions for me today? If not, we will move on to our fun little mental exercise, which is where we pretend we're on that show, Chopped. Alright, well, let's do it. In the chat, can you suggest 3 or 4 ingredients that we want to put in a mystery basket and try to cook all of them together? So if you're here in the chat, please list an ingredient that you'd like for us to consider for the chopped basket. And then we will work together to think of the different ways that we can cook all of them together, or 2 of the ingredients, or 3 of the ingredients, or the purpose is to exercise our brains and maybe inspire us for dinner or future dishes. And, you know, think about the possibilities with our food. So oyster mushrooms, thank you, Lucius, for that. Drip, do you have a suggestion, or Peter, do you have a suggestion for ingredients that we will put in our chopped basket? Oh, here's Peter with the bittersweet chocolate. Uh-oh. Nice curveball. All right, maybe 1 or 2 more ingredients in the chat if you've got them. Oyster mushrooms and bittersweet chocolate. That's good. That's good. Bitter melon. Oh, hell. All right, let's do it. Okay. I will talk through the 3 different ingredients individually, but feel free to shout out how you would cook these 3 things together, or even just 2 of them. There's no wrong answer. The way that I like to think about these sort of creative prompts is, how can I make it a sandwich? Or how can I make it a soup? Or, you know, take my favorite dish, how can I swap in a few of these ingredients? So let me just speak individually, and you can just rattle off however many ideas you've got in the chat. So oyster mushrooms, they are wonderful. They are pretty safe enough to eat raw if you wanted to, but some people find that flavor a little unsettling and texture unsettling. But they can be grilled, they can be slow cooked, they can be broiled, they can be pulled. So once you've broiled them or marinated them, you can pull them into meaty strings, like kind of like a pulled pork. I've actually served pulled pork, pulled oyster mushrooms as a pulled pork sandwich before, and it was pretty good. Mushrooms in general, you can make, what is it called? There's a French term for it, duxelles. So duxelles is a chopped mushroom paste that you can spread on a beef Wellington, or use as a base for sauces. So if we were filling ravioli, we would make a duxelle of mushrooms, which is chop them up real fine and then cook them with herbs and fill things with it. So like dumpling, ravioli. If you can think of it, we could put it on pizza. Mushrooms are very versatile. Bittersweet chocolate. So the only real life example that I've ever used bittersweet chocolate is in the Nestle Toll House cookie recipe. I'm a little bit more on the friendly side of chocolate. I really like a milk chocolate, but recently I have learned a little bit more about single origin dark chocolates, and bittersweet is sort of like in the middle there, and bittersweet comes from more of a manufacturing, like a large industry manufacturing thing than these artisanal chocolates. But I kind of love that we have bitter chocolate and bitter melon here, because those two will probably play really well together. As for the bitter melon, there are a few ways to tone down the bitterness. Like you can chop it up and slice it and toss it with some salt and leave that at room temperature for 10 minutes. You can squeeze out some of the juice and it becomes way less bitter. We can also pickle it. We can grill it. There is an Indian recipe that I really liked that you cake it in like garam masala and some cornstarch, and they crisp up like chips in the oven. So bitter melon is very versatile. A lot of the times, though, I've seen it in stews. There is a Vietnamese stew that I really, really like where they stuff like pork sausage-like material between columns of bitter melon, and then they boil that very simply in a broth. So good. Okay, we got some ideas here in the chat already. Lucius is thinking of those clear noodles in a stir fry with oyster mushroom and bitter melon with little shrimp, bean sprout, and scallion. Yes, that sounds great. Peter says, with a bitter melon, could totally slice it, melt the chocolate, let it cool a little, pour over the melon, and pepper it with a mix of flake, salt, sugar. Okay! You're saying to temper the chocolate. Chocolate-covered bitter melon. That sounds great. Oh my gosh, that sounds great. We could make chocolate truffles with like crispy bitter melon on top. Unsweetened cocoa powder, assuming it's different from bittersweet chocolate. Yeah, we're talking about bittersweet chocolate in bar form, not the powder form. So how would I combine... I like this chocolate-covered bitter melon situation. Who's to say that we can't do chocolate-covered oyster mushroom? I would probably I would marinate the oyster mushroom and dehydrate them as sort of a jerky, and then I would cover those in chocolate. We could do a chocolate bark with both, mushroom jerky and a little crispy bitter melon in there. I like this sweet, bitter situation that's happening. Yeah. Yeah, chocolate bar with mushrooms in them. I've actually tried that. I think it was from a brand called Vosges. They had a shop in Las Vegas. I think that's what it was called. It's called Vosges. Chocolate. Let me see if they have it on their website. It was definitely a very expensive luxury chocolate brand. And I don't buy it so much anymore, but let me see if they even have a mushroom in their catalog anymore. Results. No. I don't see. I guess they used to. Oh, yeah. Reishi walnut chocolate bar. They have a reishi mushroom walnut chocolate bar. Oh, wild mushroom potato chips. Actually, you know what? We could make bitter melon chips, dehydrate the mushroom, pulverize it into a powder, and make bitter melon no, mushroom flavored bitter melon chips. And then dip half of it in chocolate. You get mushroom flavored chocolate. You can dehydrate the mushroom, pulverize it, and put it in the chocolate. This is great. That's great. Yes. All right. Maybe on the savory side, how can we incorporate these 3 things? Oh, you know what? I would do a mole. Mole mushrooms, because mole uses chocolate, and we can use bitter melon as a little bit of like a side of pickle. Yeah. Oyster mushroom mole sounds great. What other savory dishes use chocolate? I have a chili recipe in my cookbook where we shave chocolate over it. Because it was inspired by mole, so makes sense, right? I mean, that bitter melon soup that I like has a sausage stuffed in the center of it. So we could make a little bit of like a vegetarian version where we stuff it with like a mushroom paste or a mushroom dumpling. Maybe? Maybe? Mushroom dumpling sounds really good. How about cookies? How could we make cookies? Chocolate chip and shiitake and oyster mushroom cookie. You could make the oyster mushrooms into a vegan fish sauce. And we can make a bitter melon soup with that. Not sure how I would incorporate the chocolate, but one of the recipes I worked on over the summer used dried shiitake mushrooms to make a vegan fish sauce. So we could make a vegan fish sauce with the oyster mushroom and then use it accordingly, in other dishes. Bye, Drip. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Alright, does anyone else have any good ideas for how to mash up oyster mushroom, bittersweet chocolate, and bitter melon? I think we've come up with a lot of good stuff. S'mores. Dude. Mushroom s'mores. It sounds good. I kind of love that. Mushroom cracker s'mores. Pretty good. Or mushroom flatbread cracker or something. Ooh. How about like a really umami hot sauce with a little bit of that chocolate and mushroom? Whoa. That sounds crazy. Alright, friends, I think that's pretty good for now. Thank you for playing along with me, and thanks for hanging out for the last hour. Let's see, do I have anything else here that says... Oh yeah, so I'll be back next week at 5 p.m. Eastern here on this Twitch channel. And if you have any cooking questions, let me know. Tag me on Instagram or Twitter. Send me your cooking photos. I would love to see them. I just got a Switch, so I'm playing Breath of the Wild. If you want to add me, DM me your code thing, and I will add you back. Don't forget, we have a Netflix party on December 10th at 8 p.m. We're going to be watching Samurai Gourmet, and I hope to see you then. Thanks so much, friends, and let me know if you need any help in the kitchen. Have a great rest of your Wednesday night. Bye.